thing. And so I'm looking forward to hearing from you today, Melissa. Prayers are with you. Come on up. And her husband Aiden is here too. If you haven't met Aiden, he's here. He's a special guy, so you got to get to know him too.
Hello. Here, am I able to steal a... I would love to stand down here. Good morning. It's wonderful to be here with everyone today. Here, I'll just quickly start off with praying and then we can get started. God, I thank you so much. I thank you so much for your faithfulness. And I thank you that you are here with us and you are part of each one of our stories. God, I thank you, that you are so good and that we can fully trust you and put all of our hope and our faith in you because you are good and you are worthy. And so, God, I just pray that you would bless this time that we have together and just this community. And I just thank you so much for everyone here. And I just pray that you would bless them in Jesus' name. Amen. It has been a wonderful honor getting to be a part of this church and be a part of this church family. Thank you guys so much. I know Veronica and I and Aiden and I have felt just so welcomed and just so loved getting to be a part of this church community. So, I just wanted to really thank you. Thank you for that. This has been really special and a really special season. So, I am going to tell you a little bit about my story. But I just want to start off asking, does anyone else hate being sick? Does anyone else hate the feeling of being sick? I hate it so much. I bargain with God every time I feel a sore throat. I'm like, God, no, I can't. You don't understand. I have these things that I need to do. If I get sick, it's just going to be miserable. And I get very angry and very grumpy. And then I'm like, the whole time I'm sick, I'm like, woe is me. Everyone pity me. I need help. I'm worse than a man cold. I am terrible. So, I hate being sick. And a few weeks ago, I got the flu one day, and then the next day I got a cold, and I was so grumpy. And I was like, God, I don't get this. And it was we had just come back from the trip. I had class all day, every day, and I was feeling miserable, and I was like, God, this doesn't work. And I was upset about it. And then I felt like God helped point me that I was going, I think I actually don't have a really good theology of suffering. Obviously, because I'm so mad. And one of my teachers, when he taught me my worldview class, said, the test of a good worldview is how it handles suffering. I was like, oh, maybe my worldview is not working for me. And maybe my worldview is not fully in line with what my worldview is supposed to be. Because Jesus walked like Jesus would have been sick. Jesus, like our God, lived through suffering in a way that is unimaginable. So I feel like my faith should point to actually having a good worldview of suffering. But I don't know, at least for me, I think there's something a little bit broken in my way of thinking because I'm so angry and I fight so hard and I just want my life to be perfect and happy and just restful. But it's not. And so I'm wanting to, if you're willing to kind of journey with me, as this has been a recent thing and just looking past, back at my story and not just looking at the highlight moments where God was he freed me from this, which is awesome. And I love that part of my story. But God was also part of my story when it wasn't so fun. And God was also moving when it was really hard. And so if you're willing to journey with me as I learn how to have hopefully a better worldview of suffering. So we're going to start off with looking at John 10:10. And now I have to figure out which bookmark it is that I have. So as I'm looking for it, you are also welcome to look for it. And we're just going to keep this in mind. John 10:10 is Jesus is talking about how he's the good shepherd, and he's explaining that. And then he says in 10:10, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I have come that you may have life, and you may have it abundantly. He has come that we may have life, and we may have life abundantly. And this, and another version, which is what I often think of, is that came to give us life to the full. And this is sort of the verse that I've wrestled with God the most about, and kind of like, God, you promised to give me life to the full. But I think there's more in that invitation that I've missed, and there's more beauty than I can imagine. So, to start off with, I grew up in an amazing family. I have 5 siblings. 4 of them are brothers, and I love them all. They've been wonderful. I am a pastor's kid, and I was homeschooled. So I was your stereotypical good Christian girl. I had all the things going for me. And my older brothers wonderfully made all the mistakes so that I did not have to. So I was really amazing. It was wonderful. I love my parents, and they have been like my greatest cheerleaders, and it was awesome. But as many in my generation and many in just the world today, I started struggling with anxiety when I was probably about 8. And I don't actually know what triggered it, and I don't actually know why. But when I was about 8, I started just struggling with, like, the world just didn't feel safe. And my brother still teases me to this day about being afraid that the fan was going to fall on my head while I was sleeping. And they were stupid things, and I knew they were stupid things, but I was so anxious. And I had stomach aches almost every night because I was so afraid. And my parents were so gracious and patient, and I'm sure it was hard when I would come to them in the middle of the night again and again and just be like, so Stephanie's breathing weird. Is she gonna die? Do we need to go to the hospital? But it was just a regular thing, like that anything would just come, and I was just so afraid all the time. And I didn't know why. And before I jump to the end of how God's helped journey me through that, I want to say that God was so faithful to me in that time. And I feel so blessed that as an 8-year-old, I knew God's presence so deeply. And I remember being like, God, I'm so stressed, and I was panicking. I'm like, and I don't know what to do. And I remember a moment when God just was like, gave me peace. And it was like the peace beyond understanding. Like I was fine. And it was so peaceful. And I remember another time when it was late at night, and I was just so afraid. And I was like, God, I don't know what to do. Like, my brain is just freaking out. And I felt him give me a picture of a lighthouse. And I was like in the middle of the storm, but I just needed to focus on the lighthouse, and he would carry me through it. God was so present, and he was so close to me. And I don't know why he let me struggle with so much fear, and I don't know why that happened. But I know that he was there, and I know that he was with me. As I started to journey and come into healing out of that place, and God helped teach me how to cope and how to go through this, and I was doing better. In my mid to late teens, I had a friendship that went wrong, and I ended up feeling very betrayed and very alone and very hurt. And I struggled with really trusting people after that. And it's kind of like, God, why? I was doing better, and I feel hit with another wave, and another wave that's struggling, where I'm fighting with my brain. I'm fighting just to be able to do life like a normal person. It was a long season. It was a 2-year stretch where I just felt like I was literally dying inside, where it's just I was losing energy, and I was losing just so much a part of who I was, and I was and I don't know what to do. I'm just feel stuck. But God was there with me in those moments. And I don't know how, but I still was somehow able to work, and I was still somehow able to do life. And I don't know how, but I was somehow able to wake up early in the morning before work every day to meet with him, because he was my lifeline, and he was the only thing that kept me going and that kept me strong. And I also want to thank you. The church was also the only safe place for me. When I went to church, I felt loved by community, and I felt so welcomed. So thank you as the church for being there for each other, because we need you. And so I don't know why it lasted for 2 years, and I don't know why it was so hard for me to get out of it, but I know he was with me, and I know he showed me a love that I couldn't imagine, and I know that I know his heart so much better for it. And then, when I was 18, I had this moment where I was just so done, and I was so frustrated, and in a conversation with my mom, I was like, I need something. This is just not working for me. In that moment, God came, and I processed with my mom through some just forgiving of some of the hurts that I had experienced, and opening those wounds, and let's let God heal those things. Let's let God work on that. And it was through that depression broke, and I started to feel alive again, in an instant. And God brought me on a beautiful journey of healing. And I don't know why he healed me, but I'm really glad that he did. And then things were going really well. I got to go to my first year at Bible college. I met a really cute guy. We started dating. And then God invited me to go to Brandon to do some youth ministry, and Aiden was going to be at the college, so we were doing some long distance, which was not my favorite, but it was working. And then COVID happened. Right when my youth group was starting to thrive, COVID happened, and I was stuck, and I was alone, and I was really frustrated and really grumpy. I'm like, God, I've just been healing. This has been hard work. And then it was really hard. And then Ian and I got married during that time, which was amazing. And our marriage has been awesome, and it's been really cool. We talk often about how, there's not been much struggles for us, but there's been a lot going on around us that it feels like we're kind of keep being hit with. Because we burned ourselves out really quick in our first year of marriage, trying to do too much, and during a pandemic, which is not very life-giving to try to do ministry over Zoom, as I'm sure many of you know. And so it was, you kind of felt like we were hit by wave after wave. Both of my grandparents on my mom's side passed away during that time, and there was just a lot going, and I was like, God, I'm frustrated. They just feel like I keep getting hit, and I just feel like this is hard. And I think yesterday, for the first time, I was looking back on that season, and I was like, wow, there was a lot of really cool things that God did for me during that time. And there was a lot of ways that he just met me in my weakness and said that he was enough for me. And I also just feel so blessed in the fact that I had Aiden during that whole time. And Aiden was like the embodiment of God's love for me in that season. And he was so patient and so there for me, as I was like, I don't know if I can trust my brain, because I'm just all over the place and this is really hard. One story I want to highlight is I was mad because I was like, God, you've healed me from so much. Can you just take away this pain? Can you take away this pain that I'm experiencing right now so that I can just be fine and have fun? And I was crying to Aiden, and I was like, this is really hard. And he was there for me, and there was this moment where I felt like I had cried, and Aiden was showing love to me and just being like, it's okay. And I was like, okay, this is good. And I felt peaceful, and I felt so loved, and I just felt like God asked me, Melissa, isn't this better? I have more for you. There's more than just walking without pain. There's more depth, there's more love, there's more to experience. And so when I think through what does life to the full mean, I think I've often thought life to the full just meant that I would be like, everything is fine. I am so happy. Optimism, like rainbows in the sun, unicorns. That's what I thought life to the full meant. But Jesus lived a life to the full that embodied like this humanity, that embodied like this, like he was moved with compassion, and he got angry, and he loved, and he experienced like deep grief. What if life to the full is entering into that like fullness with him of just being, this is hard, and he's also being like, yes, this is hard, but I'm with you in it, and we're gonna make it. And what if life to the full is finding his life and his love in the midst of the pain? One of my teachers said this last week, which was just really stuck out to me. He said, true joy only comes through true sorrow. And that the life of a Christian and the life in ministry is a cycle of sorrow and joy, and sorrow and joy, and sorrow and joy. And it's beautiful because we meet him there and we find his heart there. I'm going to lastly go to Mark 14, 32 to 38. All right. And they went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, sit here while I pray. And he took with him Peter and James and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them, my soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch. And going a little farther, he fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I will, but what you will. And he came and he found them asleep. And he said to Peter, Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. It seems amazing to me that Jesus wanted his friends with him when he was in such sorrow, that our God would be so vulnerable, that he says, I want you here with me, and I need you here with me. I was doing a study on some of the prophets, and through all the prophets, I see that there's so much pain that God expresses and so much vulnerability, and he's like, I love you. And yet he's feeling so hurt. And I'm like, how, God, do you keep your heart open to me? How do you keep your heart open to us when we keep rejecting you? And yet somehow he does. So I would like to invite you into the place of vulnerability with God and with us, where there's joy and there's sorrow. And it's beautiful. There is an intimacy in suffering that we get to experience with him, and that we get to experience as a community. And it's wonderful, but it's also really painful, and it really hurts, and that's okay too. So, yeah, I would just like to end off with just saying that you are amazing and you are wonderful. And I know that there's a lot of things going on. And I would love to, just encourage you that with whatever's going on, God's right there with you. And I don't know why things are hard, if they are hard, but he's with you. And also we're with you. And so I would like to invite you into that place of vulnerability. If, like me, you're struggling with having a healthy worldview of suffering, then God's really excited to wrestle with you with that. And we're really excited to process that with you, because it is really hard to have a healthy worldview of suffering. And I just want to promise you that God has so much more healing for you and so much more life for you than you can imagine, because he has life for the full. And the more that he heals my heart, the more I cry and the more I laugh. And I am just so grateful for him and for how faithful he has been to me. So, yeah, thank you. I'll let